So good day ma'am and good day everyone. So I am going to introduce our group which is the group 5. So first I am Jackie Lariosa de Sagun, the leader of this group. Next is Cotoner, Fledo, Ramirez, Samaranos, Seran, Tagdungan, Toledo, Tumacas, and Villaruel. So our topic that we are going to discuss, it is all about the classification of bilinguals.
Bilingualism. Bilingualism is the ability to use two different languages. However, defining bilingualism is problematic since individuals with varying bilingual characteristics may be classified as bilingual. Definitions of bilingualism range from of minimal proficiency in two languages to an advanced level of proficiency which allows the speaker to function and appear as a native-like speaker of two languages.
Good day everyone, my name is Fledo, Bsed English, first year, Set F. Here are the classification according to the age of an individual. First is early bilingual. Early bilingual arises when young children starts to regularly hear two languages instead of just one. Children may hear these languages from birth, or they may start to hear a second language at a somewhat later age, with no chronological first or second language. Like for instance, in our community, the dominant language are Tiboli and Hiligaynon. Therefore, children are used to it. Secondly, the simultaneous bilingual are children who are exposed to more than one language prior to age 3. They develop two or more languages equally or nearly equally through exposure and frequent opportunities to use each language. For example, from one parent or primary caregiver speaking to a child in one language, and another parent or primary caregiver speaking to the child in another language.
Let's proceed to sequential bilingual and late bilingual. So what is sequential bilinguals? It is when a person learns one language before moving on to another. They are said to be sequentially bilingual. Simultaneous bilingualism, on the other hand, involves learning both languages at the same time, or when children are exposed to additional languages at age 3 or older. They are considered sequential or successive bilinguals. For example, Chinese bilingual child living in the United States with their first language being Chinese and American English as the major regional language. And lastly, late bilingual. It is when a second language is learned after the age of 6 or 7, particularly in adolescence or adulthood. It is referred to as bilingualism. Late bilingualism is a form of consecutive bilingualism that occurs after the first language has been learned or after the childhood language developmental period. For example, at school, moving countries after the age 12, or roughly.
So good day ma'am and good day everyone. So I am Jackie Lariosa de Sagun, Bsed English, Set F. So in classification according to skill, passive bilingual is a person with the lowest level of knowledge is called passive bilingual. Such a person is capable of understanding another language. That level of understanding can vary from low to high. On the other hand, their ability to speak or communicate in any other form in that languages is not on a very high level. So next is the second group is called the dominant bilingual. In those cases, such a person can fully or almost fully communicate in two languages. Still, a dominant bilingual is actually more proficient in one of the two languages. Usually, that is the native language level. The thing where this distinction usually shows up the most in the ability to write in any of the two languages.
Balanced bilingual, someone who is more or less equally proficient in both language, but will not necessarily pass for a native speaker in both languages. A person who proficient to speak languages to the extent that his or her skills for each language match those of a native speaker. Balanced bilingual explain the ability of a person who is expert to speak two languages. Equilingual. This is the strictest kind of defining bilingualism. If somebody passes in any situation in both languages to the speaker. Unfortunately, it is very often the inherent semantics. Some people and even some scientists bear in mind to talk about bilingualism.
So today I will be presenting or explaining about the speaking comprehension and listening comprehension, in which these two comprehensions included to the stages of language skills. So first, let's talk about the speaking comprehension. So what does this mean? Speaking comprehension refers to a child's or the individual's ability to talk and listen clearly. It is developed through language interactions, meaningful communication, and verbal literacy development. Like what I am doing now, these speaking skills at some point attempt to replicate what I am saying here or what the speaker is trying to convey. And these speaking skills also are the abilities that enables to develop communication skills with other people, especially giving a messages or sharing an information. It allows people to communicate information orally in a way that the listener can comprehend. So now let's move to the listening comprehension. What does this listening comprehension mean? Listening comprehension includes the various mechanisms involved in learning and responding appropriately through a spoken language, identifying speech patterns, comprehending the context of a particular words or in a sentence, and or comprehending the grammar of sentences in which they are presented or addressed are the examples of these abilities. These listening skills or comprehension, it is where people learn a new language by hearing it spoken for the first time. So in conclusion, as what we may compare them, or as what we may compare the speaking comprehension and listening comprehension, the speaking comprehension is the foundation of speaking success is through listening, recording, and comprehension skills, and is concerned with the actions and with the behaviors. While the listening comprehension, it is the foundation of speaking and is concerned with the demonstrating the cognitive side, involves the human interaction, as well as it linked to the human thought processes.
Reading comprehension, where a dominant bilingual often drops out for his second language, but not inevitably. Reading comprehension is the ability to process text, understand its meaning, and to integrate with that the reader already knows. Reading comprehension is defined how readers connect the ideas in the text to their personal knowledge and create a mental construct. Comprehension also requires using a higher level language skill to develop meaning from text. Writing comprehension. That's the capability which can be expected from the balanced bilingual, maybe with a reduced proficiency, and the equilingual. Comprehension is the understanding and interpretation of what is read. To be able to accurately understand written materials, children need to be able, first, decode what they read, second, make connections between what they read and what they already know, and third, think deeply about what they have read.
Early versus late bilingual. Early learners of a second language can speak it like a native speakers, Late older learners make faster progress in acquiring morphosyntactic, syntactic, and semantic aspects of a second language. Early bilingual arises when young children start to regularly hear two languages instead of just one. Children may hear this language from birth, or they may start to hear a second language at a somewhat later age. The second language, usually a monetary language. And then the late bilingual refers to bilingualism when the second language is learned after the age of 6 or 7, especially when it is learned in adolescence or adulthood. Late bilingualism is a consecutive bilingualism which occurs after the acquisition of the first language, after the childhood language development period. And then the successive versus simultaneous. Successive bilingualism, learning one language after already knowing another. This is the situation of all these who becoming bilingual as adults, as well as for many who become bilingual earlier in life, sometimes also called consecutive bilingualism. And then the simultaneous bilingualism, learning two languages as first languages. That is, a person who is simultaneous bilingual goes from the speaking no language at all directly to speaking two language. Infants who are exposed to two languages from birth will become simultaneous bilingual. Simultaneous bilingualism is a form of bilingualism that takes place when a child becomes bilingual by learning two languages from birth. Then the successive bilingualism refers to a child who has already partially acquired a first language and then learns a second language early in a childhood. For example, when a child moves to an environment where the dominant languages is not his native language. And then the receptive bilingualism. Receptive bilingualism, being able to understand two languages but express oneself in only one. This is generally not considered through bilingualism, but it is a fairly common situation. And then qualifies as bilingual. Some says bilingual means that as a person is a native speaker of two languages. Others says bilingual means that someone is fluent in two languages. There are also many who says that bilingual means simply to be able to communicate in two languages.
Additive bilingual, meaning when you learn a new language, it doesn't affect what you learned before. You don't forget it. In short, you both learn and develop them. Even if you learn many more languages, you can use them all. You will never forget. In short, your knowledge increases and does not decreases. The opposite is subtractive bilingual.
Hi, good day everyone. My name is Charlene Seran from Bsed English Set F. So, here I am today to explain one of the four categories of four stages of language skills. One of these is the elite versus folk bilingual. For everyone knows, bilingual means being capable of speaking two languages like a native speaker. Elite bilingual. Individuals who choose to have a bilingual home often to enhance social status, while folk bilingual individuals who develop second language capacity under circumstances that are not often of their own choosing, and in conditions where the society does not value their native language.
So for our overall impression to our group, So all of us is very approachable and very accommodated despite of not seeing each other face to face. We know that we have the same vision to be an effective educator in the future. So this will be the end of our reporting. That's all. Thank you.